Project Astra. This is a universal AI agent. And as I watched that demo, I couldn't help but think that this is certainly what OpenAI was trying to front run with its demo yesterday. This is less of a chatbot, more of an AI assistant or an AI agent. I want to show you some of the demo that they just showed a few minutes ago in the amphitheater.
What neighborhood do you think I'm in?
This appears to be the King's Cross area of London. It is known for its railway station and transportation connections.
Do you remember where you saw my glasses?
Yes, I do. Your glasses were on the desk near a red apple.
That last part kind of blew me away, blew the audience away as well, because what you didn't see was earlier on in that video, it had seen glasses. Even you looking through your camera might not have noticed that, but AI agents have memory and they have reason. And this is really a new era of generative AI that's going to have enormous implications. There's another part of that demo where the user is not looking through her phone, but she puts on a pair of AI glasses. This is what you're seeing right now. And it seems to work a lot better. So it does also raise this question, what is going to be the device of the AI era? Even when we watched OpenAI's demo yesterday, the kind of when you're awkwardly holding the phone to show your work, it's got to be a better way. It is certainly a throwback to Google Glasses. I don't know if you guys remember that, but a lot is shifting this week. And a lot is on display here at I/O. So, you know, the audience here is digesting it and developers digesting it, Wall Street as well, certainly. On that note, we are going to be sitting down with Sundar Pichai later today in the 4 p.m. Eastern hour to talk all about what was announced.
Amazon Q Developer and Amazon OpenSearch service integrates generative AI assistance directly into operational workflows. It introduces natural language-based exploration and AI tooling throughout OpenSearch, allowing you to quickly understand alerts, access insights, and dive into relevant data. Users have in-context assistance during incident response, visualization creation, and contextual data explanation to accelerate resolution while maintaining enterprise-grade security and governance. This allows you to reduce incident resolution times and operational costs. Get started today. Amazon Q Developer and Amazon OpenSearch service integrates generative AI assistance directly into operational workflows. It introduces natural language
to the worldview they subscribe to. It's really about regulating other people's speech.
Yeah,
like people
there's
are
an
like
implied,
you know, and like in the debates about what showed up in the Facebook, I think what people mostly want is they want a model that has been RLH'd to the worldview they subscribe to. It's really about regulating other people's speech.
Yeah,
like people are
there's
like
an implied,
you know, and like in the debates about what showed up in the Facebook feed, I having listened to a lot of people talk about that, everyone is like, well, it doesn't matter what's in my feed because I won't be radicalized. I can handle anything. But I really worry about what Facebook shows you. Feed. I having listened to a lot of people
through some of the measures that will be put in place and what they will mean for people and companies in the EU.
The EU will divide AI applications into 4 risk classes. Some of them will be completely forbidden, like facial recognition on a mass scale. There's
through some of the measures that will be put in place and what they will mean for people and companies in the EU.
The EU.
Can it take the place of that human? Could it become more powerful than that human?
So in the sci-fi movies, yes. In our world, in the way we're doing things, this model is, you know, it's sitting on a server. It waits until someone gives it an input.
But you raise an important point, which is the humans who are in control of the machine right now also have a huge amount of power.
We do worry a lot about authoritarian governments developing this.
Putin has himself said whoever wins this artificial intelligence race is essentially the controller of humankind. Do you agree with that?
So that was a chilling statement for sure. What I hope instead is that we successively develop more and more powerful systems that we can all use in different ways that get integrated into our daily lives, into the economy, and become an amplifier of human will, but not this autonomous system that is
the single controller essentially got.
Really don't want that.
What?
How bad Yo, what's two?
Right. What's going?
Yo, what's up, Dak? All right, we back at it again, man.
That intro, that's a bloody tortoise.
Yeah, I know, right? The TARDIS drop. I had to do it. I think I'm the only person that's got a TARDIS drop for the
I
intro.
love Doctor Who, man. I love the classic Doctor. The classic Doctor, so I love that stuff.
Yeah, Red Sigma was in the chat the other day when I did it with Theo, and he was like, he peeped that too, and he was like, yeah, the fourth Doctor, Tom Baker, yeah.
Yeah.
That's my favorite Doctor too. All right, bet. I mean, back at it again, man. What's the deal? How's it going, man?
Oh man, this is one of those times where it's like this is just getting ready, being ready for what's coming down the pipe. You know, trying to get new work. I got people hitting me up for different things, but got to go through that vetting process. So that's what I'm doing right now. Just getting things prepared. Just so that way when I have these conversations and presentations, and assess how I'll proceed from there. But they're big things, really big things.
All right, nice. Last time I talked to Theo on this one, I think it was Sunday. He just got back from Brazil, and he had a contract offer as well.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. For AI and a senior engineer, etc., architecture and what have you. So, but he was saying that the market is slowly opening up, and he was saying that at least for all of us in the cloud sector, this is going to be one of the biggest job booms that we've seen in quite some time. What are your thoughts on that?
I can definitely piggyback on that. I've heard this from other mentors of mine who these are seasoned men, who've been like CEO, chief information officers, chief technical officers, and they say the same thing. Like right around the end of the year, they've had conversations with different hiring managers for various companies, and the thing is that a lot of companies, of course, are willing to and they want to implement AI or AI agents, agentic AI into their companies, but they're doing it in a measured approach. So there's like phases of it, and they're going to be hiring people who are data professionals, whether it be AI focused or data focused jobs, and so for me, just in this is February, January, I saw on my LinkedIn, I have recruiters looking me up for like data architect, cloud architect, and even principal architect roles. So things are starting to really, move. So we're in a position where, if you understand the general conceptual framework of how this all works and how you can, adopt it into a particular system, whether it be in a small system and you have to do like, automate something that's small or something that's more orchestrated. That knowledge is going to really set you apart from other people who just know how to implement things and not understand the why. And
Right.
so like, yeah, this is the way going forward. All right. Because a lot of focus you'll hear, and I call it noise. The noise is that you'll hear. Like I saw something the other day. This is from someone from 𝐋𝐈𝐍𝐊. They're a consultancy saying that they have now like 25 AI employees, and the reality of it is that even though some jobs or some particular tasks are going to be replaced with these particular AI agents, it opens also newer roles that require more context and understanding how to control these particular, I call them gremlins. It's like, they all work with each other, right? So they
Right.
need to have the human intervention. And that's people like us. And those jobs are very costly. They're gonna pay us. They're gonna pay us. So like just for one, like, like, let's say we're looking at millions of dollars just for one, let's say a particular AI adoption. But you have companies that are like, they're just getting started. And so they're going to be ramping up hiring, man. Like this is definitely going to be the year where they start that. So brace yourselves.
All right, excellent. So, well, we do Kelsey over here, and he's like I said, he's picking up traction. I'm seeing more and more interviews from him, like recent ones, because a lot of the stuff I was looking at was like a year ago, 2 years ago. And he actually just did a full interview with Tech with Nana.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah, Theo that uses Tech with Nana. He uses for which I think that's class 7. It was Python and Python with the AWS. So yeah, he's got a interview with her. I think it's as recent as 2 weeks ago. So yeah, he's making his rounds. But this one, I'm just going to jump through a couple segments of this one, but
Mhm.
it is with regard to him talking about the industry and employment in this particular sector. So let me add
Yeah, I
that.
just wanted to before you start.
Mhm.
So Nana and Kelsey, they're on the foundation, the Cloud Native Computing Foundation.
Mhm.
It's an open source cloud computing foundation, and so they work together. Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, but I was just surprised when it popped up in the algorithm. I was like, oh, we use Nana in class.
The world is
But
smaller than we think. I tell you
yeah,
that.
her training modules. But and like I said, I like the Kelsey in particular because he he's kind of the model with regard to, like I said, he didn't go to college. He doesn't have a computer science degree. He's primarily self-taught. He went the cert route, the way we did cert and working. So and
Put the grit. He put that grit in.
and he was homeless, living in his car, working at fast food. Uh, and not like guys are homeless, but feels pretty much blueprint is pretty much onboarding most guys who really pretty much had no computer or IT experience. They're not going to get computer science degrees, and they're going the cert and hands-on application of the technology route. And it's proven that in terms of we've got KPIs and records and tracking to prove from a quantitative standpoint that it is a successful model. So I think with Kelsey's achievements in terms of we're using Kubernetes, he's played an integral role in building onto the Kubernetes project. He played an integral role with HashiCorp's Terraform project, and to my knowledge, he is the only black male distinguished engineer in Google's history. So I think he's a pretty good poster boy, when we were just talking normalizing this black men in tech thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right. Well, so I want to. So you already know some of his background, but I'm going to take this statement. I'm going to do this segment first. This is Kelsey's journey in tech, competing in technology. Let me just turn that up. So let's play that.
Well, look, I think I've been competing my whole life, right? As a kid, I played sports, and you have to make the team. You have to compete. And so that means you have to practice on your own. You have to play at the park. You have to put in the effort to make the team, because there's only so many spots on a team, right? And then if I think about in terms of a job, I've always taken the jobs that were closest to me, right? So everyone, you start with fast food. And I have a self-taught tech career. I didn't go to college. I didn't do computer science. And a lot of people, and I was also, in the back of my head, is like, am I limiting my job opportunities if I don't go get a formal education? And I think that made me feel comfortable is that it doesn't matter, because you're going to always be competing. So whether you get a CS degree or not, you're always going to be competing for a spot on that team. And I think that has become foundational for me. So my entire tech career has been me somewhat competing, and not the type of competition where a zero-sum game where there's not enough jobs for people. I think traditionally, at least for the majority of my 25-year career, it has always felt like there's a shortage of talent and people that can actually do the work. And so for me, I always felt like I was just competing for the best opportunity possible. And that just meant having the skills necessary to be attractive on the job market.
So let's get straight to the point.
All right, let's stop right there. I think that's perfect.
Yeah, that was a great analogy there, where he talks about playing sports or joining a team. You always are like practicing. You always are training. The training never stops. The learning never stops. Whether you have a high school diploma, a GED degree, what have you, you have to put your reps in, and those reps come in, just staying sharp. And many times, you see different technologies come and go, but one thing that never goes away is, oh, someone's here. Whenever it leaves us is just skills. Once you have skills and you're learning, you're a good learner, you'll always will be able to have that leverage of the latest skill. You have that mindset of always like training and never like losing touch of that. Hey Remo, hey Jay Remo, how are you doing, man?
Yeah, hey, can you guys hear me?
No, yeah, your sound is good. Let me do a mic check real quick. Say a few things, Jay.
Yeah, hello, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, you sound fantastic.
Yes.
I didn't even know you were in Britain, man. all this time. You know what I'm saying? Like because I know you from class from the first GCP class and class 7. And then we were in a couple of little study groups together. I think you popped in a couple of the Armageddons I was working on. Yeah, but I had no idea you were you and Law, because you and Law always pop in. Yeah, I had no idea you were in Britain.
Yeah. As you can tell from the accent, so
yeah. I don't know how I missed that, bro.
Yeah, you can tell from the accent. I've got a UK accent, but yeah. So I've popped in. I've been here. I've popped in a couple of times. I've been here for a while, so I've been here since about class 2 now. So I've been around for a while. Yeah.
Well, here we just started a piece of the first segment to chit
Let's do a
chat.
replay.
Yeah. We'll do a replay, but we're because we got Dak, Theo just scored another contract gig or whatnot. So we're just talking about getting hired in 2026 and everybody that's shirting up and like the job offers that are coming in for a lot of Theo's students and the successes and what it's actually like acquiring the skills and how that translates to them getting hired in the current market. So actually, before we even do that, I've already done this with Dak, but just give me like a quick bio. So when I put this on replay, the audience knows who they're talking to.
Well, yeah, okay, thank you. So as you got, my name is Jay, right? So Jay Remo. So as you guys know, I've been in the field for a while. I've been there since class 2. I was already, before joining Theo's class, I was doing other jobs. So I was doing some different kinds of jobs. So, but I was already kind of like I was already kind of studying IT. So I had like some prior knowledge before joining, but I never really had like a conceptual plan on which direction I was going to go in, right? I had some understanding of some coding stuff, some databases and stuff, but I never really had a direction. So when I joined Theo's class in class 2, this was a few years ago, he kind of laid out the plan, what I need to do to basically get into the cloud. Since then, I've got a couple of certs, and I got a job like about 2 years ago now as a cloud engineer.
Okay.
And I work in IT. So yeah, I primarily work in Azure right now. But yeah, I've been collecting a lot of certs, making sure my credentials are there. Because I'm going towards this year, I'm going towards more contracting. So now I'm just trying to win more contracts in to get more clients and try and build myself as a consultant now. That's like my direction for this year.
Nice. So I heard you say you're working primarily with Azure, but you're multi-cloud certed, right?
Yes, I'm multi-cloud. Yeah, I've got the professional in every cert.
Nice.
AWS, Azure, and GCP. Yeah.
Okay. So all right. Well, tongue in cheek, you're full stack, at least when it comes to cloud.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
Yeah, you could say I'm a multi-cloud pro when it comes to the cloud. Yeah.
All right. Perfect. Well, here, let me let's switch back to this real quick. I'm going to run this back because I got Dak's response on this. So this is 𝐒𝐂𝐑𝐈𝐍𝐊. I don't know if you're familiar with him. I recently became familiar with him, but he is we use Kubernetes, we use Terraform, and I'm just shocked I never heard of this guy. He started popping up in my algorithm on my. I have another channel where I just I look at cloud stuff, because I'm studying and practicing. So like all the tech stuff pops up. So I just start seeing his face pop up. I'm like, who the hell is this black guy? So this is the guy who's actually primarily responsible for a significant portion of the Kubernetes project, HashiCorp's Terraform, and he's the only black male distinguished engineer to ever be at Google. He's completely self-taught. No, he went the cert route, basically, pretty much Theo's methodology. He doesn't have a computer science degree or anything, and he's the man pretty much all over the world. And I was shocked I never heard of this guy, but he's popping up everywhere now. So since we're talking black men in tech and whatnot, so I figure like he's a good archetype and prototype for us to bounce stuff off and get responses to. So Dak and I have reviewed like one or two of his but just bits and pieces of some of his interviews. But this one, since we're talking about the job market and stuff, so I'm going to run back this last segment, and then I'll get your response to this too. And this is 𝐒𝐂𝐑𝐈𝐍𝐿's journey with regard to his current success in the tech field. So I'm going to play this and then give me some feedback.
Well, look, I think I've been competing my whole life, right? As a kid, I played sports, and you have to make the team. You have to compete. And so that means you have to practice on your own. You have to play at the park. You have to put in the effort to make the team because there's only so many spots on a team, right? And then if I think about in terms of a job, I've always taken the jobs that were closest to me, right? So everyone, you start with fast food. And I have a self-taught tech career. I didn't go to college. I didn't do computer science. And a lot of people, and I was also in the back of my head is like, am I limiting my job opportunities if I don't go get a formal education? And I think that made me feel comfortable is that it doesn't matter because you're going to always be competing. So whether you get a CS degree or not, you're always going to be competing for a spot on that team. And I think that has become foundational for me. So my entire tech career has been me somewhat competing, and not the type of competition where a zero-sum game where there's not enough jobs for people. I think traditionally, at least for the majority of my 25-year career, it has always felt like there's a shortage of talent and people that can actually do the work. And so for me, I always felt like I was just competing for the best opportunity possible, and that just meant having the skills necessary to be attractive on the job market.
So,
Perfect. What say you, Rima?
Yeah, he's right. It's I agree with what he's saying. It's like you have to compete and you have to know your skills, right? And look at what the job market is offering, and then you have to sort of recalibrate your skill set towards that. It seems like what he's saying is having a CS degree is not really mandatory to get into the space. We've got plenty of students in our group that landed jobs without a CS degree, right? All they got was 1 or 2 certifications. They had the skill set. They tailored their resume towards what the JD was offering, and they were able to get jobs. So yeah, I do agree with what he's saying. It's you just there's competition, but you have to be distinguish yourself in it. Your positioning has to be very unique, right? You have to try and distinguish yourself from other candidates to give yourself a chance.
All right, actually, that's a good segue. Before we jump to the next segment, since both of you are basically alumni of what we're calling Theo University now, and you guys were part of the earlier classes, and you're both employed. Let's do a promo then. Let's start with Dak. Briefly, both of you guys. I want to get your experience going through Theo's boot camps, and then the transitioning process of actually interviewing for the jobs, and then now being fully gainfully employed for a year plus. What's that been like for you, Dak?
I would say my experience is rather unique. So I want to preface that in the beginning because people have called this. I coined the term speech ops, and so it's kind of like my version of DevOps applied towards communication and just working with people, relationship wise, team building, relationship building. So take it back to what you first asked. I started in Theo's class 3 years ago, and I was, coming out from being laid off as, in the oil and gas industry. So when I started in there, go through the initial AWS, process where we're going and logging into the console and creating a server and the virtual private network, or VPC, and we work in groups. And so I was in a number of groups with people, and I learned from there how to collaborate with the other brothers, especially communicating in a way that they could understand it, what we were doing, and documenting. Documentation, that's one of the things that I acquired from there. And eventually, going into automation piece, where we're starting deploying things from our command line through Terraform, and I was able to really grasp that pointing back to how the way Theo was a good teacher in explaining those concepts as far as infrastructure as code, and he helped. I think Stefan Merrick was the kind of main go-to for studying for the certifications, my initial certifications for the AWS Cloud Practitioner, and then the Solutions Architect Associate. I got both of those within 3 months apart, within I think my first year in Theo University. So now how I got to my job now, well, in the first, it was the third month I was in Theo's class, and there was an alumni who was there, who had a background, in data engineering and artificial intelligence. So he told me at the time, this was in a review session, over my credentials. He said to me, "Hey, I see a lot of potential. You definitely, when you're done with your SAA, get back with me, and then we will discuss further what you need to do." So in October, when I passed my SAA, Theo always asks us, "What is it that you want to do? What do you want to specialize in?" So I told him data and really like data in architecture. So that's when the guy Cam got with me, and I told me what I needed to kind of focus on, just to get myself abreast with machine learning and generative AI. But the time working with that, where I got onto a project just this previous year, where I did actual world project involving an AI application, like a decision engine, like for business recommendation engine. So I architected the ML machine learning operations platform, including even the LLM operations, like how to design that, and also the contextual model that will go for it. So right now I'm looking into pivoting into generative AI architecture, and like I said, that's where I'm at now, and then I'll turn to Remo.
All right, nice. Hold on, let me give you Windows XP startup. Jay Remo, all yours, Playboy.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Yeah, thanks, Dak. Yeah, so a bit about myself. Me, I came a bit earlier than Dak, so I've been around for a few years now, since, like I said earlier, from class 2. So for me, at that time, it was everything kind of new. So I had to, Theo was recommending what I called. I mean, the main thing I learned from Theo's, recommendation was what we call the blue ocean, right? And the red ocean. So this concept is about when you're in red ocean, you're basically competing for jobs that are saturated. The demand is low and the supply is high, right? So there's a lot of competition. So things like web development and those kind of fields, right? It's not that you can't get a job in it, but it's just because the market is so saturated, there's so much outsourcing going on, right? It makes it harder to sort of get into that field. But whereas something like cloud, DevOps, security, right, that's it's a bit more blue ocean. So the demand is there, but the supply is lower. So, and if you go a specific path, it makes it easier to sort of get a job, right? Once you sort of know the skill set that you need to get in. So for me, that's kind of like opened my eyes, and I thought, okay, yeah, this kind of makes sense, because because I was like in IT, but I was doing all kinds of stuff, so there was no real clear path, right? Until I joined Theo. He kind of broke it down. This is what you got to do: get a cloud job, and then you skill yourself up, and then you become you specialize, and you take it further, right? So that's kind of what he gives you, like a clear path of what you need to do to start off with, right? Rather than just jumping from one not sector to another, right? Being all over the place. That's the thing about CS degrees as well. They give you like, different knowledge, right? They teach you about databases and everything, but they give, obviously from an overall IT standpoint, you understand it. But when it comes to getting a job, it's like, okay, which path am I going to go into, right? So that's kind of like what Theo kind of gives you a clear path. I think that's an advantage, because you don't want to be jumping from one thing to another, right? So this is what you got to do. This is the skill sets you need to learn. This is the cert you need to get. You have these skills. You apply, and your chances of getting a job, increases substantially, right? So that's kind of what that's the main advantage, right? So for me, yeah, I got my basically I got my SAA. I did a lot of Terraform, IAC stuff, and I was,
we both co-taught Terraform class.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
another
yes,
thing we did that was really impactful. I mean, we had what's it like average like what over 100 students, each week
yeah,
for like
roughly,
3 months. For
yeah,
3 months.
yeah, I think so. Yeah. So basically, yeah. So when I started to learn, to do Terraform, and a lot of people were seeing my skills and DAX ability in Terraform as well, and they just demanded that we we do a class to sort of to make it to teach them the basics of Terraform. So yeah, so me and Dak, we did a class on Terraform as well to basically to further expand upon what Theo is teaching and really break down Terraform at the granular level, so people would really understand coding, right? Because some people who are not exposed to coding, right, they may kind of struggle with it. So with us, we try and sort of like make it clear, how you have to set up your code, right? How you set up your variables and things of that nature. So the thing with the Theo University, with Theo's environment, is like we also give you the resources as well, right? So there's like we've got different courses, we have resources, we have extra classes that some of the more experienced students do that help you understand stuff. So it's not like other courses where you just join and you just here's a couple of videos, here's a couple of advice, and that's it, you're left to your own devices, right? We don't do that here. It's like you join it's a network, it's a community. So you join, you'll get advice from, if you want advice from some of the seniors, they're there. There's a lot of guys working in the cloud now, so we can give you advice. There's plenty of resources to really enhance your knowledge in whatever topics you're struggling with. There's extra classes as well. So we try and give you like an overall package to take you from like a beginner to someone who's highly, skilled up and, and available to work in the cloud. So that's like, it's very structured. I would say that.
I'll piggyback on that and just say that, one of the things that I also will say that is impactful from the group is just, the mentorship, just that is such a key thing, because we have lots of people in the class who, for whatever reason, they have things going on in their life, and the class is an outlet for them, to meet up with other men and being able to, have that time to really just, be emotionally free and just, not pressurized. And so I would say that's another thing that I really appreciated from this whole experience at Theo University, just the fact that, being here right here, and being here right now is a testament of that. It's just, yes, there are the classes, but also like when it just comes to life in general and just having that, that accountability group, among each other, so that we stay, we stay on our toes. And if we, need somebody to lend an ear to hear us out, we have that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. It's like what happens is you will be allocated to a specific group, right? So there's going to be, there's people who are on the same level as you. You have people also coming in, group leaders, more seniors to give you advice as well, to guide you in the right way. So it's like, so you have a group, you network with fellow guys. I think one of the main things is when it comes to courses like this is accountability. Right, it's like if you left to your own devices, there's no one holding you accountable, right? So you can easily drop off, right? So, but if you have a group that everyone's showing up, they're doing the homeworks, they're doing what they need to do. It's like you see one guy is doing it, a couple of other guys are doing it, then you're like, okay, I don't want to be behind, so let me do it, right? So it keeps you focused, right? That's the main thing. It keeps you accountable, right? And that's
even the code reviews. Like the code reviews really not only it helps with the accountability, and it also helps with just demonstrating how you are able to communicate this and educate this to your teammates. Time and time again, we've had different projects. Let's say they're like Armageddon style projects. They are very elaborate we get like some essentially a case study where it states what the use case is, and then based on what the technical requirements, then we go in our teams and try to implement the solution, and then CEO reviews it, and based on the work and our documentation, we'll know whether we go to the next level, meaning do we go into the next series of specialization, whether that be security, networking, AI, what have you. Mm-hmm. It's a critical point within the program, because people actually have to step up and speak in front of hundreds of their peers and demonstrate what they've done and explain it bit by bit, and so that prepares them already before they get in the job market. Because when you're in, when you're on a job and you have a stand-in or you have code reviews, we get in a huddle and we go over and address different bottlenecks and get alignment on what we're trying to do. So that's another like unique thing that you get out of this program, is that Rima was saying, was that a lot of people will just have videos that you just run down with. But this is actually live, so you actually being able to demonstrate and present. So this is more. It resembles more of a work environment as opposed to just being like, oh, this is just another class or something, another video series or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's like when you troubleshoot errors, when you don't understand stuff, you work. What happens is, right, you collaborate with your fellow colleagues, and you try and sort of diagnose what the problem is and you troubleshoot it, right? So that's what the course is trying to emulate, to basically be able to reproduce that in a work environment. So when projects are assigned, if you don't understand stuff, right, you're going to try and work with your fellow students and try and figure out what's going on. So that way, once you've solved it, right, right, and then now you've got a story which you could use during interviews to say, look, I've done something similar before, and this is what happened, and this is how I troubleshooted it, and this is how we work together, right? So it kind of makes you, it gives you stories you can sort of use for your interview. So
narratives, they're narratives that we can drive, and then like we have all these things that we do. They're all documented. So we have our GitHub repository, or where we have our various projects. So, so this is something that that adds to your portfolio. Going through the program, so you get portfolio building.
Yeah, exactly. So you could use that as part of your, what we call speech chops, but that was alluding to when it comes to interviews. So that will help as well. So it's the way I look at it is a very holistic program to take you from a beginner to someone very skilled and being able to present themselves well in interviews, to put them to give them a high chance of really getting employed, right? Because as you're aware, there's plenty of students who have gone through the course and got jobs, and now they're gainfully employed, right? I'm one of them. So with me, that I was saying earlier, I work. I got my certs. I got a job in cloud in Azure. Now I'm looking to, since then I've been getting a lot of certs, skilling myself up, making myself more well-rounded. My path is slightly different to that. I'm going towards more a contracting route, so to try and get different clients and present my services, and setting up my own company and be a consultant. So that's like my route. That's how I'm going to. That's what I'm aiming for this year, right? So once you've got it, the way I look at it is, once you've been in the class, you've got your your certs, you've got your fundamentals down, you have a cloud job, it will give you clarity of what you want to do, which direction you want to go to, right? Whether you want to specialize and become more of an AI or data guy or security guy, or you want to go your own route. There's plenty of possibilities. You don't have to stick to one route.
Actually, that's perfect. That's a good segue. So I want to piggyback on what you just said, Jay. You get your fundamental certs and things of that nature, and then the next step is Theo said this. I've had this conversation with Dak. You deciding what direction you want to go, and more so what you want to specialize in, and what skills you want to double down on to make yourself highly skilled in a specific facet of the cloud. Because IT just in general is just a massive market. So why don't we do that since I have both of you up there? I think you briefly mentioned it, Jay Remo. What so you guys have your fundamental certs, etc. But what specific fields or specialty have you narrowed down and zeroed in on from a job market an employment standpoint where you see you going? Let's actually I'll go backwards. Let's start with you, Dak, so we can compare and contrast both of your paths.
Sure. Yeah. So I forgot to mention one certification. Last June, I acquired the AWS Solutions Architect Professional last June. So in October, 3 years ago, like Theo always asks us that question, right? What do you want to do? And I knew I wanted to do data focus. I was very interested in, because I come from a data background. Matter of fact, I have spent about almost a decade as a researcher, in chemistry. As a student in university, I was doing research in quantum chemistry, computational modeling of systems. And so it just, and then in industry, I was doing analytical. It was more experimental research, but I did not imagine myself circling back into doing computational science, vis-a-vis through machine learning and data. But architecture really was something I did not consider, something I wanted to do until going through Theo's class, and a particular part would be the infrastructure as code. Eventually, in the infrastructure as code, you deploy resources, into that particular environment, right? Through an API call. But eventually, over time, that could become a cost. So you have to modularize. So you think of systems, right? You think of like compute, various EC2s, or virtual machines. The network, whether you're talking about like an internal network where you're between two availability zones, or you're in two different regions. You have to, maybe depending on the organization, if it's small, maybe you need more security, like a IPsec BGP, internal BGP protocol, with our direct line. And so like in the back of my mind, I just said, you know what? Let me just start drawing this stuff out. And I started drawing out these various architectures, reference architectures, to study for my certifications, especially for the solutions architect professional. And I spent all that time. I spent many weeks, months, until I mastered it. So that in the back of my mind, when I was doing my exams, practice exams for that matter, I would while I would read the case study, in my mind, I'm deploying the architecture. I'm mentally like mapping it all out, like configuring a Rubik's cube. And so I was like, no, you know what? I want to do two things. I want to do architecture. I want to do architecture, like architecting things. And so that's where I got to that realization what I wanted to do, in those two particular specialties.
All right, excellent. So you would say your realm of specialties with regard to what architecture, what data, and AI architecture.
Yeah, and generative AI too as well. So like generative AI systems and applying it into various workflows, so adapting it in, like whether it be like existing on-premises architecture or in a hybrid or cloud exclusive architecture. So
nice.
End to end from the API calls, that is the initial extraction of the data, and putting that into like a landing zone within the cloud, as well as knowing how to systematically segregate, say, a knowledge model that company needs, like that has proprietary, information, and having an LLM, like a public LLM, just like you have like you have like a public cloud, or you have like a public internet. Well, you only in using that as a reference point, but it's not something that the company's data would be exposed to. So the data security that goes at the AI security, how all of that is, comes into play when you're trying to come up with, a framework, a logical framework to drive this. And a lot of it is really like speech ops. A lot of what I deal with is relationship management, talking to different, people, managers, department officials, and understand what their processes are, and to get all the data kind of like assessed on what they have to build a blueprint to drive, the actual implementation.
All right, excellent. Jay, same with you. What would you say you've decided to specialize in and double down with upskilling yourself for that particular speciality?
Yeah, me, because for me it's I've been studying myself in different cloud environments. I have. So for me, it's like the way I've been working is, I got my basics. I got my, job in cloud. SCA. I got the job, and since then, I've been skilling myself up. So I try to skill myself up in a way that is my cert stack covers every layer of IT. So all the way from technical to governance and compliance.
Nice.
Right. So for me, it's like I cover the full stack, right? So, all the way from technical to governance. So for me,
and when you say governments, you're talking GRC.
Yes, GRC,
Right.
governance, compliance, risk. Yes.
Right.
I have the last year, I did the C risk, right? And I also have the ISO 27001 lead implementer that allows me to do GRC work as well. So I have the credentials for that as well. So for me, the reason why I went this route is because the way I'm here, right, in the UK is like, I'm thinking, okay, I want to get different jobs, right? I want to think, okay, what's the way I can do it, right? So if you become like a contractor, in this case, a consultant, I can basically bid for different contracts. So if a company wants like a work done, right, they need like then they need somebody to come in and make the company audit ready, or they want someone to get the company to meet the ISO or the NIST or the SOC 2 certification done in 3 months. I could be the guy that come in, or for 3 to 6 months, I could be the guy that comes in, looks at what the infrastructure is, advise where they're going wrong, say some suggestions, do it for them, help do it, and they pay me a handsome fee for that, right? So for me, it's like okay, now I've got my job now. What's the next step for me? So for me, it's like I want to go to the consultant round where I set up my own company, right, and offer clients different services, be a service provider that way, and I can also bid for different contracts that way, right? I have more roles, right? I have more opportunities I can go for, right? So so for me, it's like you have your DevOps, DevSecOps. You understand, you good technically. Now the next layer is what can I do to sort of think in terms of like the business standpoint, right? So the technical standpoint, but can you translate that value from a business value, right? From a business standpoint, what's the ROI? How can you reduce risk? When you face the board, can you translate the risk? Can you reduce the risk down, right? What's the risk appetite? Things of that nature. So for me, it's like I'm trying to cover both sides, not just the technical side, but from a business standpoint as well. So it's just like I'm like a hybrid between compliance, governance, business, and also technical, right? So I'm like in that layer. So for me, it's like I've taken that route because that will give me opportunities to, like I said, go take my own route, build a pipeline of clients, and try and establish myself in that domain. So that's kind of like my route.
Okay, nice. All right, so You set your base with the DevSecOps, and then you branched out and built on top of that with the GRC, and what have to make yourself more of a business commodity and be able to onboard clients.
Yes, yes, exactly. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So so for me, it's like I've set up, I've set up my own LLC, as you guys would call it. We call it limited company here. It's
Nice.
LLC. So I've got that. So for me right now, I just need to. There's a lot of contracts going on. I just need to obviously bid for them, right? Specialize myself and put myself as a worthy or as a man who can solve their pain points. Look at what the issue is. And look at exactly what their issue is and be able to offer my services and help them alleviate whatever there is, whatever pain points they're having, right? So that's kind of like the route I've taken.
All right, perfect. All right, excellent segment, gentlemen. Let's do biotics. All right, Dak, we're at the 56-minute mark. I know I got to get you close to the hour. So, guys, you guys want to do what's your architecture and get up out of here? That's a 6-minute segment. We will look at an AWS schematic and get up out of here.
Yeah, let's go for it. How about you, Remo?
Yeah, sure.
All right, this one is Prudential Financial, delivering data velocity at scale with AWS Glue and AWS Step Functions. Hold on for a second. Let me throw this up here. So we'll let the architect, senior architect, run it through, and then we'll actually just pull up the schematic, and I'll have both you guys talk us through it, and that's a wrap. All right, let's go. I'll make sure my volume is correct. There we are. And okay, we got Joshua, senior solutions architect at AWS, and our guy here is Vice President of Data and Technology at Prudential Financial. Let's go.
I'm Shehaz Vamanjur from Prudential, and this is my architecture.
So, Shehaz, Prudential is a large financial institution. And I imagine that with that territory comes lots of challenges around data, amounts of data and different types of data and how to deal with that. Can you tell us a little bit more about those challenges and have you dealt with them in this architecture?
Prudential, like any other modern enterprise, needs to create its data products faster and cheaper. And this architecture delivers on the promise of increased product creation velocity at lower cost.
So I'm looking at this user coming into this marketplace. Can you tell us about that flow and why you chose this model?
The primary purpose of the marketplace is to create a browser-based experience where the user can discover, understand, and access data. This is the purpose of the marketplace application. It simplifies the entire data community's experience with the data estate. And this is done through a series of automations that move data across the different zones that you're seeing on the screen.
So it comes in here. I see some kind of manifest or document file here, and then it's coming in through data sync. Can you tell us about that flow and specifically why you chose data sync here, or if there are other services?
Sure. The manifest contains instructions for the kind of data the user would like to move across the data estate. For example, the data could exist in file systems, databases, APIs, streams, any number of different source systems in the enterprise. Data sync is an example of an AWS service that we use to bring data from file systems. There are other services that we currently do not represent on this slide, including Glue, which is connected to JDBC sources, Kinesis, which is connected to streaming sources, DMS, which is connected to databases, so on, sources, and so on. But the manifest-driven experience abstracts the user from the nature of the source and the transport and shipping involved in moving data across this particular estate.
It sounds like it's really adaptable and flexible to a bunch of different data types, which is what we were talking about earlier with all those different data types and you see it in enterprises. So we have S3 and Redshift in the next phase here in this standardization. How does Glue Data Brew factor into that standardization story? And why do you have S3 and Redshift?
So the purpose of this application is to support multi-purpose usage of data. S3 represents a lake pattern of usage, which is connected to data science and machine learning. Redshift is connected to a house pattern of architecture, which is usually connected to business intelligence use cases. And Glue Data Brew is our transformation tool, which we use to dynamically create the automatic workflows to move data from the landing zone to a standard zone that represents the source in a time series manner. This layer is also extensible with other technologies such as vector databases as well as graph databases.
So looking at all these services, you talked about the data lakes and all these standardization and refinement steps. There's usually a lot of data engineers, human activity involved in this process, but you're looking to automate. How much of this is currently automated today?
You point to an important concept that addresses both velocity as well as lower cost. This portion of moving data from the source to the landing zone, which is step 1, and to the standardized zone, which is step 2, is fully automated. So no human being writes code anywhere at Prudential to do this. The subject of refinement of data, which is where business rules are written, this is where human engineers come into this picture. And now they spend most of their time in this space. Historically, they would have spent a significant portion of that 80% in moving the data across this estate.
Yeah, so now they can focus on what matters and add value here in the refinement stage. I want to move to lake formation in this governance step here. Lake formation, I imagine, is playing an important role in governing the rest of this workflow. Can you tell me more about how you're using it?
Sure. Now, one of the 3 things that the marketplace allows you to do is discover, find, and access. The access is where lake formation comes into this picture. Now, throughout this journey, what we've described is a shipping model and an organizational model for data that brings data to a usable form. Now comes access to this data, which is a security and a governance question. Lake formation is a service that we use to centrally secure access to S3 and Redshift. Now, the marketplace similarly delivers access through the manifest, which is an instruction, a request for access, which then goes through approval workflows. That is the purpose of using AWS Lake Formation here, to centrally govern all access privileges across this estate.
Yeah, what I like here is that the user can specify what they want to achieve and not necessarily how it's going to be achieved under the hood, right? You can automate that away, and you can have the lake formation manage the governance, and you can have these automation steps handle the standardization.
Yes, AWS services work very well under this abstraction layer of a marketplace application in order to orchestrate these flows minus the user having to know about them. That is correct.
And then lastly, we have this SageMaker and Athena consumer section here. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
This layer represents consumption models, which is both traditional as well as advanced analytics. Athena represents a SQL interface. SageMaker is a machine learning interface. You could introduce any third-party tools as well into this picture.
Perfect. So I picked a little extra harder one because I got you. Hold on, let me, boom. Yeah, I picked a little extra harder one because I got Remo and DAC on this one. Let me run back to the schematic. So that was the brief run through. Let me run back to the original schematic. Bingo, here we go. Let me get his hand off of that. There we go. All right, you guys. Let's have at it.
Well, what we have here is an enterprise type of architecture. This is more or less along the lines of like a big data design, with AWS being specific here. They have what you call like a feed, the feed being various data formats. So like internal files. Maybe there's a database they have. Maybe there's like some sort of on-premises, things that they need to migrate, from like their on-premises data center to the cloud. So data sync is like an amalgamation of various data types, and that also includes API. So if they have something that's on the web, as they mentioned, like a shopping center, And so it goes through these series of, this is just a workflow. So it goes through these orchestration layers. And so it's more or less like a federation zone. So the landing zone is more or less a federation zone. And then it goes from that stint, and it's just receiving just all the data from how it is. After that, then you go and essentially you're trying to sanitize and standardize the data. So standardizing, putting it all in a format that it would be needed for its consumers. So as I mentioned about, there are people who are business analysts, data analysts, and they need to look at it in a particular format. So that would be more in a data warehouse situation. So that's Redshift. And then you have the, more the data scientists who want to get deeper contextual analysis in the machine learning engineers. They use that S3. They call it like a lake house. Essentially, in the lake house, it contains all of the data that is unstructured and semi-structured. Because S3 is what you would call an object storage. So it's able to, facilitate that type of, that type of database. This is this object storage. From there, you have the refinement. The refinement is just getting more fine tuning of the specific data. They're not trying to pull everything out, but just certain things out. And so that's based on what that initial request that user put in, which is through the manifest document. So okay. Just like you go ahead, remove. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'm just waiting for you. You continue. I was just going to add, but yeah, continue. You
okay.
Done? Or?
Yeah. So I was just going to say that since this is federated, the lake formation essentially does kind of like a check and balances to ensure that whoever in that manifest document, what they have access to. And if they don't, they won't get access to it. Or if they do, they'll get a certain level of access. Maybe it's a read only, maybe it's a read and update, depending on that particular user and how they fit in the organization. And so for the consumers is mainly, it's going to be a variety of things. The Athena is mainly like used for just for extra analysis on the data for SQL analysis. Maybe the QuickSight's another one. QuickSight does like you look at actual monitoring, so the dashboard gives you a visualization of that data and different various analytics. And the SageMaker is more or less for like machine learning and more contextual analysis that you would get that Athena does not deal with, because SageMaker focuses a lot more with the unstructured data types. So that's it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, for me, it's like the way I like to think about this, I'd like to simplify it a bit more. I'd like to use analogies to try and, make the concept clearer. So this system is just basically what I'll call like a smart conveyor belt that moves files, cleans them up, and basically locks them down and lets people query them, right? That's basically what it's doing. The way you want to think about this is, right, you want to think about this like a warehouse. So imagine a big warehouse with different rooms, right? So you have the landing zone, right? That's basically the drop-off room. So basically, you're basically dumping the boxes here exactly as they arrive. So there's no touching. Then what you're doing is you're standardizing the room. So that's what, let's call that the cleaning room. So you open the boxes, you clean the items, and you put them into like a standard containers. Then you refine the room, right? Let's say that's like the assembly room or the kitchen. So you combine cleaned items into something useful, like a finished meal. Then you have the govern room, right? That's basically like the security desk. So security decides who's allowed to see which shelves, right? And then you've got the consumer part of it as well, which is the customer. So people come in to look, analyze, and build models, right? So that's kind of what's happening. So you're just basically moving files between rooms and doing things to them, right? So when you look at the manifest, basically, when he was mentioning the manifest, that's basically the instruction note, right? So what it's saying is like every box arrives with a piece of paper taped to it, right? So the paper is saying, look, what's inside it, how fragile it is, and how it should be cleaned, who's allowed to see it. So that paper is the manifest. So basically, the manifest tells the system what to do with the data without a human basically babysitting it, right? That's basically what the manifest is doing. So in this case, right, if you take that analogy, right, and we apply it here. So the warehouse will be the Amazon S3. You have the conveyor belt from the office to the warehouse, which is the AWS data sync. Then you have the cleaning machine, which is going to be either AWS Glue or Data Brew. You've got the security guard, that's the lake formation. And then you have the calculator on top of files. So that's going to be something like Athena. And then let's say you've got like a robot helper. That's going to be like the Lambda. So the way you want to think about it is AWS services, they're just machines in a warehouse, right? So to keep it so in terms of like a story, right? So the file arrives from an old company server, right? So data sync carries it into the landing room. Then what happens is like a manifest arrives with it and says, look, this is customer data, whether it's like a CSV format or whatever the data is. You clean it, you convert it to Perquit or something like that, and then you just lock it down. And then the glue reads the manifest, cleans the data, and moves it forward. And then the security is checking the permissions, and then analysts query it safely. That's basically kind of what's happening here.
All right, perfect. I got a follow-up question. What's the how do the step functions operate in this schematic?
Step functions. See, step functions are they really are serverless types of compute. So Lambda functions are like for short processes. So let's say you need to do, or I need to grab a water. You know, I need to grab a bottle of water. You know, I'll put a can of Coke or something. That doesn't take much work, right? But let's say you have to go under the hood and you have to go and do an oil change. Oil change is going to take a longer time. Maybe you have to go and do some other things. You have to change out the oil filter, all of that stuff, and replace the oil and take out the old oil. So step functions really are for processes that take a long time. There's different. It's like a synthesis. It's like a reaction synthesis. In chemistry, you have say an organic reaction that has a catalyst.
Yeah.
Catalyst is being yielded, whether it's hot or cold, given certain parameters. That's what the step function does. The step function is almost like a catalyst. It's driving this process to completion, but it requires a certain set of conditions and parameters.
Okay.
So each one breaks it step by step what it's going to do.
Cool. Yeah. To segue onto what to expound upon what Dak was saying, right? The way I like to think of step functions is think of it like the conductor of the orchestra, right? It doesn't do the work. It tells everyone when to play, right? That's kind of what it's doing. So if the data has to be like copied, cleaned, checked, logged on, and then published, right? Who decides the order, right? The step functions. Right? Without it, you're gonna have chaos. So the glue runs before file arrives, the security runs before data. You people manually click things. So that's kind of what the step is. Basically a checklist with rules, right? That's basically a step function.
All right, excellent. And is that are they written in what, JSON or something like that?
Yes. So the stuff. So like. Yeah, it would be done that because it's automated. This is something that, as he was saying, Sharice or the guy at Prudential, there isn't for at least the first couple of steps. It's all automated. There's no like human intervention.
Gotcha. No code. Right.
Yeah. So
Just continue. Like I was going to add stuff, but continue. I'm let you finish.
I didn't have anything else to say, but I'll let you piggyback.
Cool. I would say the step function is that it is written in JSON, but you don't write JSON logic. You just describe the step. Right?
Gotcha.
That's kind of what it's doing. It's not a programming code. It's like a recipe written in JSON, right? So you have the steps, orders, conditions, things like that. So instead of loops, variables, or algorithm like you would do, here you're having steps, orders, conditions. That's kind of what it's doing. It's like
a logical flow. It's in a logical flow.
Yes, exactly. So you have the start, you run glue, finish, something like that, right? So you have it's like a checklist card, right? That's kind of so when you like have JSON, right? You like think of a laminated card, right? It's gonna say, look, do this, then do that. If it fails, try again. If condition X, go left, right? Otherwise, go right. So that code happens to be written in JSON format, right? So that's kind of what's happening here. So JSON is the format, but the real thinking process is the flow. That's what, so you design the flow first, and then JSON is just how AWS reads it. That's like the key.
And I'll also add to that, because the step function really is a function. It is a compute function. So it's able to handle, it's almost like the RAM in your computer. You're doing, or like on your phone, when you have various apps open or you're doing multiple things at the same time. Well, if you use a Lambda function, you try to do all this in set various Lambda functions, the Lambda function is obsolete, because it only handles so many gigabytes up to 15 minutes of processing time. And so, like, prior to even designing this, they go about the actual governance and planning, and when they know they have several things that they have to do to their in this process diagram, then they know, okay, well, I'm going to need to have an orchestration layer, a serverless orchestration layer. And so since it's an AWS, that's the environment. So they use step function. That's what it's designed for. As an orchestration layer to conduct, as Remo suggested, that it is conducting all of this workflow from end to end. And so, like, it's able to handle a lot more processing power, if you will, as opposed to, say, just using a simple Lambda function, because it's just a lot more stuff that's being done in each step of the workflow.
All right, perfect. I believe that is our segment, gentlemen. Before I get you guys closing statements, Jay Remo, since you are a Brit, here's a drop for you. I think you might appreciate it.
Yeah, is that Doctor Who, right?
The TARDIS, yeah. Oh yeah, man, I love that show, man. Like, that's one of my favorites.
All right, guys, let's get closing statements, and I'll get you guys up out of here, man. We're at the 1 hour 18-minute mark. This is a great show, guys. It'll be on rotation in the channel. Jay, come back anytime you want. We'll be doing these. I guess I do Sundays with Theo, and then when Dak's available, I do Thursdays with him. But let's go in reverse. Jay, let's get your closing statement, and then we'll get Dax and we'll get up out of here.
Okay, yeah. Thanks, guys, for having me on the channel. So it's been insightful. I hope that the information we've given you has helped you. And if you guys need any sort of further information on this, feel free to contact me or contact any one of us. And we'll be happy to explain further. All right. So I'm available on Facebook, so feel free to contact me. And contact any of us, and we can give you more information if you want to join the class.
All right, fantastic. Yeah, and here's Theo's channel where you can reach him through YouTube. All right, fantastic. Once again, man, appreciate you, Jay. This is actually a really good segment, guys. Talking about the job prospects, some of the success stories, and a little bit of architecture at the end. That closing statement for the chat and the replay gang.
Yeah, like, again, Remo, thanks for pulling through. And I know Sergino, he will definitely the Surge will definitely be making his rounds here as well. It's just again, it's another testament of just what we as Black men can do, and when we are in alliance and in allegiance on something that we can actually eat off of. There are so many opportunities for us to get, not only employed, but as Remo, talked about, with having our own businesses and helping each other within expanding this network. Like this is one of the things that when we, as architects, we always talk about eliminating single points of failure. So, you have a contingency, baked into this organization, in this network, I should say. And so no matter what happens, no matter what may be done, I'll quote Bay's kids, we don't die, we multiply. We have bifurcated into other, this group has bifurcated into many other separate entities and specialties. But we'll be able to sustain, help other Black men wanting to go into this tech industry. And I'll land it there. And thanks again, 𝐒𝐔𝐁𝐒𝐂𝐑𝐈𝐏𝐍, for hosting us again, and all those guys in the chat. Thanks for being on. And those who are watching in on the replay, thanks for watching.
Hell yeah. All right, guys, that's a wrap. Hey, we're gonna put this in rotation, replay gang. Shout out to 𝐒𝐒𝐓. Who's this in the chat? No News, what up, Playboy? And first of your name, I saw you in here earlier. They were in the middle of explaining some architecture. Yeah, catch the replay. I'll have it in rotation too. And then you guys I'll send the link to you, Dak. You can send it to Jay. You guys repost it in the Facebook group also. But yeah, Remo, anytime you want to show up on Thursday with Dak, that'll be great, because we do what's your architecture at the end of every segment, so people can actually see people talk technical, and then just general convo. I appreciate both of you guys for showing up, and we will see everybody next week. Good night and good luck.
Temper,